the most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Turn 3 Racing Network as qualifying has gotten underway here tonight as the Upstate Racing League crashes into Nashville. And a long-time member of Upstate Racing League is out on the speedway for the first time in a while. That is the 65 of Jay Dubuque. In the booth with me here tonight is none other than Kelly Dolan. Kelly, qualifying rolling on already.
Yeah, we're already getting some times in from a few of the drivers. AJ Rogers setting our current quick time of 18.514. Gareth Gonder, though, he sets a new fast time. That's an 18.407, but I think those times are going to get even lower because in practice, we're seeing people getting all the way to the 18.1.
Yes, so 5 drivers rolling out in this one, including Speedy Brissett, as he is pulling down to the infield. So first, a group of drivers done and over with. Our timing a little bit off here tonight, Kelly, but that's okay. We can catch up here as the next set of drivers get rolling out onto the speedway.
Yeah, we get another group. So while we said that Gareth Gonder had the fast time, he lost it to AJ Rogers with an 18.341 and then got it back with an 18.290. So that's a lot more closer to what we're going to be expecting to be the faster times of the night. But I still think there is some time out there on the racetrack, and we're going to see if these guys that are out there now are going to be able to beat that time. We got Jeremy Carpenter, Justin McDuff, Matthew Barkhouse, and Trey Edson out there.
Carpenter in the 7 machine, sporting Carpenter's tax service, as this is the Carpenter's tax service 100 here tonight, as qualifying is up for grabs here tonight. I do believe that as McDuff shuts it down right now, Justin McDuff in 3rd, Trey Edson on pole in the 25 machine. So 2 of our chase contenders laying down qualifying times here.
Yeah, very good time from Trey Edson. He's going to go even faster with an 18.248. So good lap times from Trey Edson, because even his first lap time was good enough to be the quick time.
Matthew Barkhouse was also out there in the 15 machine. Now the next group of drivers to roll out. This is the 45 machine of Justin Smith. He makes his way off of pit lane. Brian Rogers, Colin Phillip, and Andrew Plank all making their way out there as well.
Yeah, so as usual, top 16 will go immediately to the main event. However, tonight we won't be sending anyone home. At least last we checked, that didn't meet the cutoff mark. So every driver that is here tonight will be racing in the main event. The LCQ will still go off, though, to decide those last few qualifying positions. But everyone that's shown up will make the race. We'll see what these guys can do in their qualifying, though, because qualifying still counts for points and really will help your starting position and help your whole race here. But this group not really putting down too many fast times at the moment.
Now Andrew Plank makes his way up into 4th place, fastest in this group. Brian Rogers now in 8th, Colin Phillip 10th, and 11th going to Justin Smith in the 45.
Andrew Plank, though, on a second lap, he's able to get some heat in the tires, get some speed, and he's going to be able to put up the now second fastest time we've seen tonight, 18.273. So still a few hundredths off from the 25 of Trey Edson, but still a very quick time.
Rolling out now is the 39 machine of Bill Martin. Bill Martin came into the chase as the #1 seed. A little bit of a rough race last week. Finds himself now in 7th, but still a lot of racing to do here in this season. He's got a shot at still pulling this one off.
Yeah, also seeing a little bit of a change to his paint scheme. I think he's replaced the white in the middle with a black stripe, maybe just for the night race here, just for the chase, but still a very sharp looking car. See what he's going to be able to do with it. First lap, not too fast, but we've seen that a few times here tonight. Is the first lap, they've got to get the tires up to speed.
Yeah, you do kind of got to get this car rolling, get those tire temperatures up a little bit before you can really lay into it. And we're going to find out who's going to lay down a fast second lap. Bill Martin moves up into 4th. Justin Rigsby and Matt Eddy out here as well. Eddy in the 87 machine into 6th, and Rigsby in the 99 moves into 10th place.
It's almost kind of weird seeing all the drivers taking both of their laps, because in previous years with the older tire model, we would see these guys do their initial timed lap and then immediately park it because they knew that second lap wasn't going to be any faster than that first. But now with the tires having to get up to temperature, they want to take that second lap, and that first lap is more of their throwaway.
Chris Stump in the 98 machine rolling out onto this Nashville track. Big wide turns here at Nashville. Al Smith Jr. in the 96, one of the drivers out there as well. Brian Hacker in the 11 machine flashing by, and beautiful gold 42 of Brett Bartels.
Yeah, Chris Stump, the fastest driver in practice. Is he going to be able to do it in qualifying? No, he gets loose off of turn 2, and that's going to go into the wall. He had a very fast first lap, so I was expecting a lot from that second. His first lap was good enough to put him in 2nd place ahead of Andrew Plank, but he's going to lose it off of turn 2 and unfortunately not going to be able to make an attempt at the quick time.
Yeah, that looks like maybe he had a shot at making something happen that time, but unfortunately dug a little too hard coming off of turn 2. Killed all of his chances at it.
So next group rolling out now. That's going to be the 88 of Matt McLean, the 81 of Jimmy McIntyre Jr., the 24 of Steph Marinac, and I believe that's actually all of them, just those 3 this time.
Looks like Mike Alexander might be joining them as well.
Yeah, there he is, just rolling out a little bit late, but he is going to be able to get himself out on the racetrack just in time for our first driver to take the green flag. Steph Marinac going to try to get himself kind of back up into the chase. He's 17 points back from Justin Fuller, so he's still in this, but needs a good starting spot and maybe even get a few qualifying points out of this. But that first lap, 18.747, is that going to be enough to really get his tires up to temperature and see what he can do on the second lap?
So Jimmy McIntyre into 6th place. Mike Alexander does move up into 2nd, so a great effort by Alexander. Marinac, meanwhile, in 12th. He's looking for a little bit more. McIntyre goes up into 3rd, a solid qualifying effort for him. Matt McLean in 16th spot right now.
And Jimmy McIntyre pretty much tying Chris Stump. That's going to come down to the 4th decimal place to separate those two guys. So extremely close call here, and kind of shows just how tight everyone is and how tight the competition is. As our top really over 5, I think that's 8 drivers are all within a 1/10 of a second.
Just a few more drivers to make their way out onto the speedway. Your new points leader this week, the 51 of Justin Fuller, making his way out onto the track. AJ Hamill out here as well, and that 18 Arts Barbershop machine.
You know, we also have the 13 of Guillaume Fortin, our 3rd place driver in the chase at the moment. He's going to be trying to get another good run here tonight and hope to keep himself in contention for the championship. But one of the guys he's going to have to beat is not only Joe Schaefer, who gets the new quick time, but Justin Fuller, who gets now 2nd place, that just misses out on what would have been quick time if Joe Schaefer hadn't pulled out that 18.194.
with the top 8 being inverted in the A main. Fuller gonna smack the wall coming off of turn number 4. Hard impact there for Fuller. But the top 8 going to be inverted. And right now in 8th place, that is Andrew Plank in our qualifying times. Top 16 locked in. That means everyone else going to the LCQ.
And that is what's absolutely insane to me about Joe Schaefer Jr.'s time, is that was only his first flying lap. He probably could have gone out there for a second and gone even faster, but decided once he saw a 194 come up that was enough. He didn't need any more, and looks like he's going to be correct there. Justin Fuller hitting the wall off of 4, like you mentioned, erasing his lap time. So Joe Schaefer Jr. going to put up the fastest lap of qualifying.
A very quick qualifying session done and over with here at Nashville as we get ready to stage up for the LCQ. Let's take a quick look at the points coming into tonight's race here. Justin Fuller, Joe Schaefer, Guillaume Fortin, your top 3 coming into the points. Everyone's still very close, as this is just the second race in our championship standings. Or in the chase, I should say, however you want to say it. But, yeah. And then Chris Stump going for the best of the rest.
Yeah, still a lot of drivers in contention, but this is only a 5-race chase. So these guys that are kind of lower down in the chase need to have a good run tonight, and hope that some of the guys up above them just have a bit of an off night, especially Trey Edson and Justin McDuff. They were taken out early in last week's race and sit 57 and 59 points back of Justin Fuller.
All right, so the LCQ getting ready to fire off. We have 12 drivers, all 12 drivers should be in it. This should be 28. I can do math. So right at the cut, everyone going to make it. Let's go right into the starting lineup for our LCQ. Matt Eddy, Matthew Barkhouse on row number 1. Row number 2 going to be AJ Rogers and Matt McLean. Row 3, Jeremy Carpenter, Justin Rigsby. Row 4 will be Brian Rogers and Jeremy Watkins. And row number 5 will be Colin Phillip, Justin Smith. In the final row here tonight, Speedy Brissett and Jay Dubuque.
Yeah, just 12 cars for this LCQ, only 10 laps, so it's going to go by quickly, but going to give these guys a little more track time and really give them a hint of what's to come in the feature event, so they can kind of maybe anticipate where they can make passes and try to get themselves up through the bottom of the field in the main event.
Lights are out on the Chevy Silverado. We're getting ready to fire these bad boys off once again. We have our first racing action of the night. Race number 2 in the chase. I believe we do have a few of our chase contenders here in this LCQ.
Well, green has been shown, and we are underway for our first bit of racing action here tonight. Matthew Barco is getting a great run off the start, nearly getting clear of the 87 of Matt Eddy into turn 1, but Eddy able to use that inside line and get himself even with the 15 down the back straight.
Side by side, they are still racing the 87 and the 15. A lot of room here at Nashville for that. Last few tracks maybe had been a little bit narrow, but now everyone has plenty of room. And the 87 working hard on that inside line, but the 15 gets a good run off of turn 2.
Yeah, it looks like here that second lane still has some speed, so it isn't going to be complete bottom feeding tonight possibly, as that 15 still able to work that middle line and keep getting it good runs off the corner. 87's going to clip the apron in turn 2, and that's going to slow him way up. Now gives the 15 sole possession of the lead. Now the 87 Matt Eddy's going to battle with the 88 of Matt McLean, while AJ Rogers tries to find a way around them.
Almost looked like they were going to try 3 wide. This outside lane for the moment seems to be prevailing, as the 88 of McLean starting to edge over Matt Eddy and makes a pass down the backstretch. Now the 99 of Rigsby is on the inside, and the 17 of AJ Rogers into 4th spot.
Yeah, Rigsby then washes up the track there in turn 1, and that killed a lot of his speed, lost a lot of ground to AJ Rogers. Now Rogers looking to the inside of that 87 of Matt Eddy. Nothing quite there, but Eddy gets a little loose off of turn 4, kills his exit speed, and brings that 17 back in. He's going to try again down that inside, but it really seems like the second lane up from the bottom seems to be where that speed is.
Rigsby in the 99. We go on board with him. He is finding himself in 5th place. We have 4 laps to go here in our Carpenter's Tax Service LCQ. The 87 machine of Matt Eddy up to the high side as AJ Rogers in the 17s taking a peek down low.
Yeah, he's going to get himself to the inside of the 87 this time. He's able to get even up across the line. Just a slight advantage to Matt Eddy, but into the corner now. That 17 going to get a better run through the middle, and is he going to get a good exit? He will not quite clear the 87 just yet. And now Justin Rigsby watching AJ Rogers move through that bottom line. He's going to try to follow him through.
Rogers makes the pass off of turn number 4, completing that. Job done for him as he moves into 3rd. Now he sets his sights on the 88 of McLean, but time quickly running out. White flag going to be coming out for Matthew Barkhouse, who I mistakenly thought was the one that was in our chase here, but he is not. He is battling for the best of the rest.
Yeah, he's just a few points back of Al Smith Jr. and Chris Stump, so trying to get as many as he can to try to go for that best of the rest award, and he's going to get as good of a qualifying position as he can through the LCQ. The 15 of Matthew Barkhouse wins the LCQ.
Matt McLean, AJ Rogers, Matt Eddy, Justin Rigsby, Jeremy Carpenter, Ryan Rogers, Justin Smith, Colin Phillips, Speedy Brissett, Jeremy Watkins, and Jay Dubuque all making their way through this one. All right, so with that being said, guys, drivers are heading into a bit of a warm-up. Everyone going to get a few more practice laps before we fire them off for the 100 laps here at Nashville. That means we're going to step away for our national anthems. No one go anywhere. We'll be right back.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
The Upstate Racing League Season 10 on the Turn 3 Racing Network is brought to you by Butt Kicker. Feel what you've been missing. Arts Barbershop. R&R Auto.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as the warm-up session is starting to draw to a close. Matthew Barkhouse, our LCQ winner, getting involved with a little fender bender there in the 81 machine. Justin Fuller laying down the fastest time of our practice, or this warm-up so far. Some very quick lap times here, Kelly. 18.22 by Mike Alexander now.
Yeah, some very quick times here on the warm-up, but will they be able to transfer over into the race? One thing we did see, though, in the LCQ is you are able to pass here. You don't have to try to wait for someone else to make a mistake or move them out of the way. There is kind of two lanes that could work. We saw a pass both on the outside and on the inside, so we'll have to see who's going to be able to dominate those two lanes and which lane, if either of them, is more dominant.
Absolutely, and it's all going to come down to who can really take the best advantage of their tires and getting that power down here to make that work on either the inside or the outside.
Well, we are lining up for our feature now, so let's take a look through our starting lineup, KR.
On the inside of row number 1 in the G Fuel 64 machine, that is the driver known as Andrew Plank. On his outside, the 98 of Chris Stump. Row number 2 going to be Jimmy McIntyre in the 81 machine, and on his outside, that will be the 18 of AJ Hamill. Row number 4 going to be Mike Alexander in the 75 and Trey Edson on his outside. And finally, row number, well, not finally, but in row number 4, that's Justin Fuller in the 51 and Joe Schaefer in the 6. And then row number 5, Gareth Gonder in the 81 machine and Bill Martin in the 39.
Row number 6 in 11th place, we see the 11 of Brian Hacker, and on his outside, the 20 of Justin McDuff. Brent Bartels will be rolling off on the inside of row number 7, and to his outside, the big boss man, Al Smith Jr. Jeff Marinak will be rolling off in 15th. Guillaume Fortin not having the qualifying he was hoping for. He's going to be starting in 16th. Matthew Barkhouse wins the LCQ, as you saw, and he's going to be starting in 17th with Matt McLean to his outside. And row number 10 on the inside, we see the 17 of AJ Rogers and the 87 of Matt Eddy.
Justin Rigsby in the inside of row number 11 with Jeremy Carpenter on his outside. And then Brian Rogers, Justin Smith, Colin Phillip, and Speedy Brissett in row number 13. And Jeremy Watkins and Jay Dubuque, row number 14. As we get ready to fire them off, Andrew Plank in the 64 has control of the field. The green flag coming out. Plank and Stump head off into turn number 1.
And we saw in the LCQ the high line was effective in the initial start, but we're gonna, contact in the back in the middle of the field. There's a big crash.
There are still cars plowing into the corner. We have a huge stack up going into turn number 3. Brett Bartels getting involved in that one. AJ Rogers looks like maybe he got a piece of it, but the amount of carnage off of turn number 2, and this started at the front.
Yeah, it started in the second row with Jimmy McIntyre and AJ Hamill. AJ looks like he just got loose off of turn 2 and unfortunately came down towards that 81, who was kind of coming up as well. So two drivers just moving in the same direction, and unfortunately collects the both of them. And then with everyone still bunched up from this initial start, there was nowhere for a lot of these drivers to go, and a lot of people caught up in that. I see the 6, one of our main contenders, getting caught up. 51 though, he was able to dive to the bottom. Justin Fuller was able to get away clean, and a few other drivers as well, but a lot of our chase contenders caught up in that accident.
Yeah, that is a big time stack up going into turn number 3. And the problem with that big stack up there, everyone was still very bunched together as we had just taken the green flag.
Yeah, and that's just really a bit of a side effect of these restarts and initial starts, is that everyone is tightly packed, and if something happens towards the front of the field, it's gonna leave a lot of people with nowhere to go, and it's just gonna get worse as more and more cars get collected, and it makes the wreck even bigger. But a few drivers sneaking through, a few drivers taking some damage, and really is gonna shake up our race, fairly similar to last week when we had a lot of drivers caught up in an early accident as well.
Yeah, we have seen right now, it looks like only 13 cars did not come down pit road. Most of these guys hitting pit lane to work on some damage. No tires are available here tonight. So, yeah. Looks like quite a bit of damage out there. Brett Bartels.
Yeah, a lot of damage to the front end of the 6 of Joe Schaefer, so that's going to be very interesting, as Joe Schaefer Jr., our second place driver coming into tonight, as he was only 5 points back of Justin Fuller. Fuller now just ahead of him, and he's got a completely clean race car, it seems, but looks like lights are out on the pace car, and it is going to dive down pit road.
Names scrolling across the top in blue are your chase contenders, and Chris Stump in the 98 gets into the throttle. He gets a good launch. The 75 machine of Mike Alexander gonna follow his tire tracks through 1 and 2 they go. This time we'll see if we get into turn 3 without a stack up. So far so good as Stump sails it off into the corner.
Yeah, and that 6 machine of Joe Schaefer Jr., he still has some speed, even with that damage that he's got. Is now he's going to be able to get clear of the 64 of Andrew Plank, but he has got some contenders behind him. Justin Fuller, who he was able to pass on the initial start, is now right behind him. So there is a huge championship battle just sitting in 3rd place.
We ride on board with the 6 of Joe Schaefer. I'll spit it out sooner or later. He is trying to close in on Mike Alexander. Alexander just set the fastest lap of the race in that 75 machine. So he is got some speed in it. And again, another fast lap by Mike Alexander. He is closing in on Chris Stump.
Yeah, ever so slowly, he's dragging in that 98 machine. It looks like he gets quite a bit on entry there into turn 3. So kind of makes me wonder how hard he's sending it into the corner. Might be burning up that right front and costing him time in the long run, but he is getting closer and closer to that 98, and he may have something for the leader.
Right now, AJ Rogers in the 17 machine, trying to work to the inside of the 7 of Jeremy Carpenter. Andrew Plank in the 64, who started on pole here tonight. He has fallen to 10th spot here very quickly, as the 96 machine, oh, that's embarrassing, being passed by Al Smith. Oh, Andrew, what are you doing?
And Andrew started up front, so he was able to avoid that entire accident. He's one of the few drivers out there still with a clean car, but things are just not hooking up right for him, and he is moving backwards. Hopefully he can kind of get things sorted to get himself straightened out, but he's now coming under pressure from the 88, Matt McLean, who started all the way back in 18th, has already got himself up into 11th.
Yeah, Matt McLean working his way forward. He is not our biggest mover, despite gaining 7 spots so far. Our biggest mover in the race right now, that's Colin Phillip in the 53, who is right behind Matt McLean. That 53 looking pretty clean.
Yeah, he may have been far enough back on that initial wreck that he was able to check up in time and avoid the worst of it. And it looks like he is one of those guys that has a completely clean car. Just behind them, a little bit of a battle for position. Bill Martin and the 24 of Stefan Marinac, they are going at it. Bill Martin just cleared the 24 to take away 14th spot.
That 39 machine a little bit beat up and banged up. He is working hard to try and get his car forward. lot of point loss or position in the points lost last week by the 39. Here he is, lap 1, already with a torn up race car. He has got to be wondering what happened, as he was a dominant car in the regular season, but this chase has not been kind to him so far.
Yeah, he has just not had good luck, and well, last time we had seen this kind of luck for him was the first race of the season in Iowa, where he was taken out and on the first wreck. That was pretty much, I think, lap 1 or 2. So very similar situation happening these last 2 weeks, but no drop week in the chase to save him, and this is big problems for the 39. He has got to find a way to really string together a number of good finishes to get himself back into this chase.
We go on board with the 98, your race leader. That is Chris Stump, as we look out the back at Mike Alexander, who is trying to close in on him. Mike Alexander inched a little bit further closer, but he seems to have stalled out at a 0.3 second gap.
He'd gotten himself up to that 0.3 earlier, but I think he may have just gotten loose somewhere on the track when we weren't watching and lost a lot of ground, went back over 4/10 back, and now working his way back up again. But I saw him off of turn 2, not quite looking square, and yeah, that is another loss of time for that 75. He is dropping back once again.
So Alexander in second, Stump your race leader. Joe Schaefer finding himself in a third spot with Justin Fuller right behind him. So championship contenders working their way forward.
Yeah, but it's good to see that 98 machine at the front of the field once again. 2 years ago in 2018, he was our runner-up in the championship, had 3 wins to his name over the course of the season. Last season, though, he made the chase once again, but didn't get any wins on the season, and we thought it was a bit of an off year for him. But this year has been even worse, actually missing the chase. But something with Nashville is working with him tonight, and he has been able to get himself up to the front, is still holding on to that lead, and Mike Alexander working his way towards him again. But I think Alexander is being a little too rough on the tires this early on in the race.
Creeping up on the first quarter of this race, we're working lap 23 of 100. Other than our first stack up, we have had only one caution, and it was a doozy. The 98, the 75. Right now, sitting 1 and 2. They are trying to outrun the 6 of Joe Schaefer. And you talked about Chris Stump. This kind of car, this kind of racing is right up his alley. He used to travel around and race this in real life. And so having him out in front with that clean air, it's going to be tough to pass.
Yeah, I'm watching just behind them, though. That's the 6 of Joe Schaefer Jr. He is second place in the points, 5 points back of the guy that's following him, Justin Fuller. And Schaefer, I thought before the green flag came back out, I thought he was going to be done seeing the damage that was on that front end of that 6 machine, but it doesn't seem to be slowing him down at all, as he's still able to keep pace with our front 2 and has opened up a bit of a gap to that 51 of Fuller.
Yeah, he is kind of right there biding his time, it feels like, just trying to ride around, not pushing that car too hard. The 6 getting plenty of air on the nose, and not sure that's a good thing. As you can see, that nose is crinkled up pretty good. Speaking of crinkled up cars, Justin McDuff has just pulled onto pit lane. Out of the race, of the 28 cars we started, Jay Dubuque, Justin Rigsby, and AJ Hamill all look like they are done here tonight.
Yeah, Justin Rigsby is a do not start. Jay Dubuque also did not start. AJ Hamill has pulled it behind the wall. Brian Rogers Jr. appears to have pulled it behind the wall. And now Justin McDuff joining them as well, leaving Brett Bartels, our only driver, 1 lap down, that has decided to keep going despite the damage to his race car.
That beautiful 42 machine, I'll tell you what, that's still a good looking paint job. I really dig the gold on that car.
And things are starting to get a little tighter up front as Mike Alexander is catching up to Chris Stump, and Joe Schaefer Jr. as well starting to close in on those 2 guys. And while we get set up for this battle, they may start bringing in Justin Fuller as well.
So the 75 taking a peek to the inside here. Stump keeps that momentum rolling on that high lane exit. Enters into 3 a little bit lower than he did into turn 1, but Alexander taking a good hard look at him.
Yeah, Stump saw Alexander sitting up to the inside and went through 1 and 2 high to get that exit speed. And again, looks like Alexander was going to look to the inside. This time, Stump going to close him down on 3 and 4. Seems to be that inside lane on 3 and 4 is very dominant. So he's a bit more comfortable running the high line in 1 and 2 where he's able to get a bit more speed. But 3 and 4 seems like he wants to stay low.
Lap traffic just ahead of our leaders. That is the 45 of Justin Smith and the 03 of Speedy Brissett. We haven't talked a lot about Speedy here tonight. He has made his way forward, gaining 5 positions since the drop of the green of flag. Justin Smith gaining 2 positions. So these 2 drivers trying to work their way forward. Now they want to be they don't want to go a lap down. They want to try and stay on the lead lap, but those leaders are starting to get bigger in their mirrors.
Yeah, and this lead group is starting to get bigger as well, as now Justin Fuller is pretty much caught up to the back of them. Joe Schaefer Jr. as well, just hanging off the back of Mike Alexander very slightly, but not quite pressuring as much as Alexander's trying to pressure Stump. Stump, though, keeping a very steady and stable line, still keeping a lot of speed, and I think he's just being gentle on the tires and trying to just maintain his pace for as long as possible. Oh, but he gets in the wall. That's going to kill a bit of momentum, but still not enough for Mike Alexander to make a move.
So Alexander keeping the pressure on. Now he's going to take a peek to the inside going into turn number 3. Stump way up high as we go on board with Alexander for this one. Plenty of room being given to the 98 as he slides down to the inside once again. Lap traffic now really could play a factor here. That 98 falling to the clutches of the 6 of Schaefer as well.
And Stump is moving backwards fast. He's now losing ground to the 51 of Fuller, and now they get some lap traffic. He's going to get contact, and the lap traffic going to hold on. That was Speedy Brissett taking a shot to the back. He's going to bring out the caution as he stops it on the apron.
And Speedy Brissett looked like maybe a little bit of help from the 6 as the 6 tried to pull down low. Not 100% sure from that angle. We'll take another look at this one. That is a tough one to call. We'll go on aboard with the 6. But Speedy Brissett, well, I don't know what happened. It's gone elsewhere. Oh, never mind. Here we go. One more shot at this one. The 6 up high. It looks like maybe some net code as Joe Schaefer tried to pull down to the inside. Clipped the 3 machine and around he went.
And it seems like that 03 was just a little slower than the 6 was expecting, and just misjudged where the car was going, where the 03 of Brissett was going, and just that miscommunication ends up collecting them and bringing out the caution. So a little more damage to the front end of that 6 possibly, and hopefully he still has some speed in it. He had pace even after that first contact, and hopefully he can continue the pace and keep going after Mike Alexander, who had just taken over the lead before the caution came out.
All right, guys, with that said, we're going to take a quick break. No one go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.
Kabang Energy Candy contains 100% of vitamins B6, B12, and C, plus ginseng. And the best part is, no caffeine. Kabang Energy Candy is sold everywhere, including participating Walgreens. Kabang Energy Candy, it's bangalicious.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt kicker. The future is feeling.
The Upstate Racing League Season 10 on the Turn 3 Racing Network is brought to you by M&M Country Store, Dr. Noy's Custom Paint and Diecast, Coach's Corner, Kabang Energy Candy.
Welcome back to the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Lights are out on the pace car, and we are going to be getting back to green flag racing very shortly. 75 of Mike Alexander leads the field. It's going to be his first time leading the field to the green as he took over the race lead from the 98 right before the caution came out, and I believe that 98 ended up coming down pit road. Oh, actually, he has pulled it behind the wall, so Chris Stump, after having a great start to the race, calls it a night.
Yeah, we saw him get into the wall, and that car just wasn't the same after that, so you got to wonder how hard he smacked the wall with that 98 machine to put him out of tonight's race. But the 75 of Mike Alexander and the 6 of Joe Schaefer going to lead this flag to our green, going to lead this race to our green flag, and Alexander shoots out to the race lead. Schaefer going to slot in behind him. Fuller in that 51 in the third, and Gareth Gonder in the 81 machine now finds himself in fourth.
Gareth Gonder looking to have a bounce back race after last week, along with a lot of these drivers that were kind of caught up in a few incidents, and still a bit of battling right behind them. We've got that 11 machine of Brian Hacker trying to work the outside, and he is going to get around the 25 of Trey Edson and hold on to 5th place.
So Hacker moving forward here. The 11 finally into the top 5. Trey Edson in 6th in that 25 machine. Right behind him, chase contender Guillaume Fortin in the 13 as he moves his way forward. A little bit of damage on that black and yellow 13 machine, but not stopping him from trying to gain ground.
Yeah, a lot of chase contenders making their way towards the front of the field, but still at the front, Mike Alexander trying to get himself back into championship contention. He's 16 points back of Justin Fuller, and probably wants to keep Justin Fuller behind Joe Schaefer Jr. to really extend the points that he would gain from a win here as we're getting towards this halfway point in just a couple laps. But Justin Fuller putting a lot of pressure on that 6 of Joe Schaefer Jr.
Yeah, top 3 all running very close together. And Gareth Gonder right there, but a lot of drivers getting single file, a lot of speed still here in this track. Last time around, our race leader turned in 18.92. The best lap for Mike Alexander at 18.35. So not a whole lot of fall off on these tires just yet.
Yeah, but as we cross the halfway point now on lap 51, these tires are going to fall off very soon and fall off pretty hard as these guys are going to be struggling to maintain that right front. And Mike Alexander, he's had pace throughout the night, but I wonder how hard he was pushing those tires. I saw him compared to the 98 of Stump early on. It seemed like he was really diving in on entry, which could burn off that right front. But at the moment, Joe Schaefer Jr. still holding on, and Joe Schaefer Jr. as well could be one to worry about tire wear, because that front end so banged up could be burning off those front tires a little more.
Yeah, this is a car that you really do have to protect, not only your right front but your right rear. You want to be very careful going into the corner and gentle coming off, because you can burn down those tires doing one of those too fast. So you get into the throttle too hard too soon, and you're going to burn off that right rear, and then the car's just all over the place. Ooh, as the 81 of Gonder gets a little bit sideways but holds on to it. And the other side of that is you drive into the corner too deep and really start abusing that right front, it's never going to recover, and you're going to end up falling backwards.
And Gonder again got into the wall at the 11 of Hacker, looked to try to go for the inside, but Gonder quickly got himself down to throw the block on that 11 machine, so he's going to hold on to 4th place. Guillaume Fortin just behind them, he's going to try to go for the inside of Trey Edson. Edson holding off on the high side through 3 and 4, but Guillaume Fortin now going to switch to the high side through 1 and 2. Going to get into the marbles though, and there is not much speed there as he nearly loses ground to Al Smith Jr.
So the 13 tucked in behind the 25, Al Smith in the 96. He has gained 6 positions since the drop of the green flag and putting on a good showing here. AJ Rogers right behind him. Well, he's up 10 spots. One of our biggest movers of this race so far, and that 17 involved in that big melee on the opening lap.
Towards the front, though, it looks like Justin Fuller is a little faster than Joe Schaefer Jr. Schaefer has dropped back from our leader, Alexander, and now Fuller, he's been getting good runs off of turn 4, but not quite enough to be able to make an attack on that 6 machine. But I think it's only a matter of time before we see Fuller get around Schaefer.
Yeah, Justin Fuller really able to wheel these super late models, but Joe Schaefer no slouch. And both of them right now look like maybe they're not too worried about pushing the issue, but Fuller, all he needs is an opening, and he is going to try and stuff it in there somewhere.
Mike Alexander, though, continues to lead, looking for his first win in the Upstate Racing League, only his 2nd season here at the league. Last season, not very great for him as he finished 20th in the points, but this year he's in the chase, he's battling for a championship, and he's possibly going for his first win tonight.
Yeah, 75 looking very stout here tonight. Schaefer and Fuller each picking up a win this season. In fact, Fuller has 4 wins, taking over the most wins as he was tied with Bill Martin up until last week.
Yeah, Justin Fuller having a very, very good season with the 4 wins, 6 top 5s, 6 top 10s. So almost every race he's been in the front of this field, and now he's trying to get himself all the way to the front. He's trying to find a way around Joe Schaefer Jr., but Schaefer trying to make his car as wide as possible right now.
So the battle for 2nd place starting to heat up. Guillaume, meanwhile, in the 13 machine, pushing hard on the back bumper of the 25 of Trey Edson. Edson, one of our rookies out here tonight, along with Gareth Gonder and Andrew Plank, Colin Phillip, Justin Smith, Speedy Brissett. A lot of rookies making the start here tonight, and they are putting on a good show for us here.
Yeah, a very good show throughout this field here. Is now that 51 taking a peek to the high side of the 6, but nothing there. Now going to try to cross him up to the inside. Still not enough speed off the corner to get past the rear bumper of the 6 of Schaefer. So Schaefer just doing what he can to hold on, but Fuller trying to find a way around. And as these two battle, Mike Alexander really starts to extend his lead as he hopes that 51 stays behind the 6.
So Fuller starting to explore his options and maybe starting to add some worry to the 6 of Schaefer. Justin Fuller really looked like he got through the middle of the corner there pretty good, almost getting into the back of the 6. Gareth Gonder, meanwhile, has fallen back just a touch, but that 81 has a nice little spot between him and Brian Hacker, and Hacker rounding out your top 5 for the moment.
One thing I noticed, Mike Alexander, he is from Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia. They've got to check what's in the water there, because Cole Harbour has produced people like Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, TJ Grant, who's also a UFC fighter. So there is some notable names that have come from this very small town, because Cole Harbour, not that many people there, just a little town in Nova Scotia, but have really produced a lot of notable names.
And Sidney Crosby, what kind of girl is this?
You not a fan of the Penguins, I take it?
No, just everyone knows Sidney Crosby. Just had to say that. But yeah, so Mike Alexander maybe going to be doing some celebrating and drinking some of the water as a 51 of Fuller had a good look to the inside coming off of turn number 2, but Schaefer fins him off down the backstretch. Fuller not able to get the power down just yet.
And now Fuller going to take another look to the inside through turns 1 and 2. Is he going to be able to make it stick this time, or is Schaefer going to keep maintaining the pace off the high side? He gets a good run down the back straightaway, but doesn't get himself clear again of the 51. 51 of Fuller sliding up in turn 3, but still getting a good launch off the corner. He's actually going to have the advantage at the line, so at this moment, Fuller scored in second place, but hasn't completely gained control of the position. That 6 of Schaefer just holding on as much as he can, but he's just slowly sliding back from that 51.
Yeah, while that is going on, that allows the 81 of Gareth Gonder to close in, and Schaefer finally tucks in behind the 51 machine. Now we'll see if Fuller can reel in the 75 of Mike Alexander, as we're coming up on about 26 laps to go when they cross the start-finish line this time.
Yeah, the closing quarter of the race coming up, and while these two were battling, Fuller and Schaefer, that is, Mike Alexander opened up a pretty decent gap, 0.7 of a second over the 51 of Justin Fuller, and he has to just focus on maintaining his pace, because that's quite a bit of ground to have to gain on a track like this, and with lap times as short as 19 seconds.
Yeah, a lot of speed here at this Nashville with these super late models. And I'll tell you what, I kind of wish I'd been out there and got to turn some laps, because these guys are really flat getting it around here.
And the 45 of Justin Smith going to go way up the racetrack. He's going to try to avoid the field as he gets lapped and put one lap down. Mike Alexander going to continue to lead, but he's lost a little bit of ground to Justin Fuller over these last couple laps. That time across, he is going to lose ground once again, actually quite a bit of ground. We're now at about half a second between Alexander and Fuller has turned on the jets now that he's gotten into second place.
As we take a look at this one, Mike Alexander, you can see the time closing in as they work their way closer to Colin Phillip. Driver in 19th spot to put him one lap down. Nice little battle box graphic there, letting us know that they're closing in on lap traffic too.
Well, just behind them, we have another chase driver trying to gain as many points as possible here tonight. Guillaume Fortin. He was just on the bumper of Trey Edson and Brian Hacker, that little group. But at the same time, he's got to worry about the 96 of Al Smith and AJ Rogers and the 17 just behind him. But Guillaume trying to gain as much ground as possible. Didn't have a great starting spot tonight. Started all the way back in 16th, our last driver to lock his way in from the qualifying. But he's been able to make his way forward. He avoided a little bit of the damage, or a little bit of our initial wreck. I think he still got a little bit of damage. He may have come down pit road early to kind of hammer it out, though. Looks like his left front is still a little banged up, and now he's going to get loose off of turn 2, but gathers it back up.
Guillaume in the 13 with a good save down the backstretch. Sideways again, coming off of turn 4. Digging hard, really taking its effect or toll on these tires. One driver, though, that has been in full recovery mode since the opening lap. That is the 17 of AJ Rogers. He has made his way into 9th spot. He is trying to work over the 96 of Al Smith Jr., and he would like to pick up one more position.
Yeah, and a quick rundown now of our chase contenders. We know Mike Alexander leading the race, Justin Fuller right behind him, Joe Schaefer Jr. sitting in 3rd, Guillaume Fortin, as we just mentioned, he's sitting in 7th. AJ Hamill, unfortunate for him, he is out of the race. 24 of Steph Marinac running back in 15th. This has just not been his track. 39 of Bill Martin. He was our top seed coming into the chase, now sitting in 10th place in this current race. Brian Hacker, he's been having himself a decent night. He started in 11th. He's running up in the top 5. Ray Edson in the 25 right behind him. Justin McDuff, again, just not a good chase for him. He's been having terrible luck these first 2 races. He is out of this race and possibly out of championship contention.
21 cars still out on the speedway. Of those 21 cars, we do have, I believe, 17 of them on the lead lap, as Jeremy Watkins was just put a lap down. Watkins in the 77 machine, moving out of the way nicely to allow this 75 the opportunity to pick up his first win of the season. And we're looking at 12 laps to go. That is getting closer to being a reality.
And I'd like to remind you, tonight's race is brought to you by Carpenter's Tax Services. In need of a tax preparer for your business or your own personal finances, Carpenter's Tax Services should be your go-to accountant. Schedule an appointment today. Well, they say now, but I think Carpenter himself is a little busy, but you can schedule an appointment after this race by calling 518-546-4014.
Speaking of Carpenter, the 7 machine of Jeremy Carpenter in 16th spot. He has been working his way forward all night, gained 6 positions so far since the very start of this race. And that 7 machine, quite colorful and a little bit beat up, banged up on the right-hand side, but a lot of cars looking like that right now.
He has the number of cars that were involved in the first accident and a few as well that have been just getting into the wall off turn 2 and turn 4. So Carpenter is involved in one of those 2 things that banged up his right side, but this pace, he might be caught by Mike Alexander, though the laps are winding down, and that also is bad news for Justin Fuller. He's not been able to close up the gap to Mike Alexander. He had it down to under half a second, but it has grown once again, and it seems like that 51 has run out of steam. And Mike Alexander, my concerns about his tires are gone. He's still keeping pace.
Yeah, Fuller falling back here to about a 0.7 second gap. And with 7 laps to go, Alexander looking to just bring this one home. Needs some good lap times. Just hit his marks. He's been fast all race long. Now looking to cap it off.
Pretty much just has to keep it clean. Justin Fuller completely out of touch from him, and Joe Schaefer, he's been able to hold off Gareth Gonder. Gareth Gonder now has dropped back from him, and he's starting to move into the clutches of that 3-car pack behind them. Brian Hacker, Trey Edson, Guillaume Fortin, all seeing that 81 behind in front of them and trying to get around that car, as they've all been battling with each other these last about 25 laps or so.
5 laps to go as Brian Hacker works over the 81 of Gareth Gonder. Guillaume right there. We saw Guillaume get loose a couple of times, and looks like that car settled in for him, but Mike Alexander still out in front, still running very quick lap times, very consistent lap times here in that 75. And now maybe Fuller trying to dig a little hard as he's starting to close back in.
I think it's going to be a case of too little too late. There is not enough time unless that 75 of Mike Alexander makes a mistake, because it's still over 0.6 of a second but separating the 75 and the 51, and we've only got 3, well now 2.5 laps to go.
Yeah, catching him would be one thing, passing would be a whole nother thing. And with 2 laps to go, Alexander just has to hit his marks. No big mistakes out of that 75 machine, and he can bring this one on home into victory lane.
Yeah, the last hazard he may have is in front of him. One last bit of lap traffic for him to make his way around, or maybe even just kind of hang behind as the white flag's in the air. Lap traffic going to get out of his way. Mike Alexander just has to make one more lap, and he will be a first-time winner in the Upstate Racing League.
So Alexander looking to pick up his first trophy from the Upstate Racing League as it is in its 10th season, and Mike Alexander goes into victory lane here tonight at Nashville.
Yeah, Mike Alexander wins the Carpenter Tax Services 100 and really gets himself a good points boost in the chase standings, and I think that will bring him right back into championship contention, though might not have gained as much points as he wanted with the points leader Justin Fuller finishing right behind him.
As the field makes its way, or the top 3 make their way onto the front stretch, the 75 starts his celebration, and a well-earned one there for sure.
Yeah, a very strong performance from that 75 of Mike Alexander. He started back in 5th, got himself up towards the front very early on, was able to get himself around Chris Stump, and as soon as that happened, he never looked back. Got a good jump off the restart and just took off from Justin Fuller and Joe Schaefer, and I think the closest anyone got to him after that was pretty much half a second.
All right, so let's go through our race results real quick while we wait for our drivers to make their way up into the broadcast booth. Mike Alexander, your race winner. Justin Fuller, 2nd. 3rd, Joe Schaefer. Gareth Gonder, 4th. 5th place goes to Brian Hacker. 6th, Trey Edson. Guillaume Fortin in 7th. 8th place goes to AJ Rogers. 9th is Al Smith. And 10th will be Bill Martin.
11th goes to the 15 of Matthew Barkhouse. Matt McLean finishes 12th. Andrew Plank falls back from pole to finish 13th. Jimmy McIntyre falls alongside him, starting 3rd, finishing 14th. Jeff Marinac comes home in 15th. Jeremy Carpenter, sponsor of tonight's race, finishes 16th. Matt Eddy will be the last driver on the lead lap in 17th. Jeremy Watkins finishes 18th. Colin Phillip comes home at 19th. And Justin Smith rounds out the top 20.
21st goes to Brett Bartels. Chris Stump, 22nd. Speedy Brissett, 23rd. 24th goes to Justin McDuff. Brian Rogers finishing in 25th. AJ Hamill in 26th, and did not start would be Justin Rigsby and Jay Dubuque. All right, so here we go. Let's see if we have some drivers ready to chit chat with us just yet. And we got 2 of the 3. Just waiting for one more. I just got word from race control that our race winner gonna be just a moment. So let's go ahead and start this one off. And Kelly, you want to talk to Joe Schaefer?
Let's catch up with him. Joe Schaefer Jr., our 3rd place finisher of the night. Joe, definitely not an easy race for you tonight. You started off the race getting caught up in that early accident and quite a bit of damage to the front end of the car. How did it handle after that initial hit?
Like junk. So I haven't gone back to look to see what happened. There's nowhere for me to go, but I was pretty much looking at the top side of my hood for 99 and a half laps. So I was missing something all day for sure.
Well, even with that damage, you managed to hold off a few contenders, but how did you manage to hold off that 81 machine of Gareth Gonder?
Well, I was more, well, I guess I don't know. He probably should have passed me. He should have been pushing it to try to get to me. I think right at the end, he started to slip, kind of like I did. So I think I was missing. I didn't have a straight up and down steering wheel after that first lap incident. So I figured I had to drive it a lot harder, to get more out of it to overcome the damage. And it eventually got to me and slowed me down. And I think maybe once I stopped fighting Fuller and just kind of accepted my fate of, this is what the car can give me, I started to cool it off a little bit. And if Gareth was pushing behind me, I guess that would explain why he might have heated it up and fell at the end.
Well, you keep yourself in championship contention, but there is only 2 more weeks, 2 more tracks, but 3 more races to go. Lanier and then a double feature at Myrtle Beach. How are you feeling about your championship chances?
Well, Lanier is one of my favorites. I race it a lot like Oxford, so hopefully, Oxford didn't end well, but I think I had the best car at Oxford at the end. That's those flat, wide tracks, long corners. That's what I like. Myrtle Beach, we'll see. Definitely going to have to make sure I fire off with a hot qualifying lap because I think that first race is invert free. So starting on the pole for that first race, if possible, would be ideal. So I'll put in a little extra effort in that for sure and see what happens with Fuller. I mean, he's had some great luck this season. I take nothing away from him. But he got through that melee on the first lap today with no damage. And then last week, second place crashed right next to him and he ran away with the win. So one of these days his luck's going to run out and we're going to even up. So it'll be a fun run to the end here.
Well, Joe Schaefer, you still had a good run here tonight, and who do you wish to thank for your third place finish tonight?
I'll stick with Drew Krybeck with Epic Media, and Al for putting on the league. I know he wasn't very happy after last week's race, but probably good to tell him that we all still like racing here. We're all a big fan, and we'll all keep coming back. And thanks to you guys as well.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming and talking to us, Joe, and hopefully we'll hear from you again next week at Lanier.
Thank you.
That was Joe Schaefer Jr., driver of the number 6, and our third place finisher tonight. And now, KR, I believe you're going to be catching up with our second place finisher.
I have caught up with our second place finisher, and that is the 51 machine of Justin Fuller. And Justin, that 51 looks solid here tonight. And again, you come away with a solid finish here in this second round of the chase.
Yeah, thanks, Kara. We actually had a good qualifying run, which, I mean, in all theory, like qualifying really good isn't really necessarily a good thing, but this track definitely, I think it's easier to pass at. So we definitely wanted to put in a little more effort to having a good qualifying time there, and it showed. So, yeah, I really love this track. So that was a good race for us.
Well, at 51, a little bit on the nose, got some damage there. Tell us about what you saw on the front or the back stretch on that opening lap.
I just came off turn 2, and of course, you know, we're all bottled up. We just started the race, and just saw smoke. So I kind of made a guess, and hopefully that they were all going to the top, and I went to the bottom, and I was able to avoid it. I got that damage on the nose like later in the race when there was a lap car got checked up off turn 4, and Joe checked up, and I couldn't see it in time, and I ran in the back of him. So we didn't get an incident-free race, so we won't get the bonus points that we were really trying for tonight. I really feel like I got a top 3 with some bonus points. It would have been a really good night, but I mean, a second place finish is nothing to shake a stick at.
Well, solid effort here put you in a second place tonight. Any shout outs or thank yous you'd like to give?
Yeah, send a shout out to all the admins at Sim 500. All the admins here at the Upstate Racing League for all the work that they do. I say it all the time. It's such a great league. If you're looking for short track racing, I want to thank Carpenter Stack Service for sponsoring the race. Thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. Thank all my teammates. Thanks everybody watching. Thanks Personal Comfort. Better number bed at a better price. If you're looking to get a number bed, definitely check them out. Nemesis Labs, also another personal sponsor of mine. Thanks to Trey Itson for painting all my stuff for me, keeping me looking fresh out here, looking good. And you know, thanks to everybody in the race tonight. That was a fun race, a lot of green flag racing there. Really wish we could have had one more cautioner at the end, so I could have had a shot at Mike, but we'll take a second place. We won't be too upset with that.
All right, Justin, once again, man, congratulations on that. Nice job out there tonight.
Thanks, Kyra. Have a good week.
As Justin Fuller, your second place finisher, and Kelly, longtime announcer here for the Upstate Racing League, but now you get to talk to a first-time winner.
Yeah, caught up now with Mike Alexander. First time you've won here at the Upstate Racing League, and how are you feeling about your run tonight?
Oh man, it's it was pretty crazy. You know, I've been trying to get one of these for a long time, and I had a lot of seconds, and just could never put the pieces together to get a win. And it feels amazing. Like I'm just sitting here vibrating right now.
Well, we've been talking a lot about the first lap incident, and you pretty much got to see it develop right in front of you. What was it like trying to dodge that?
Yeah, you know, I thought the race, you know, was going to be an early night there. I seen them get together, and just luckily snuck through on the bottom, and Justin got through with me there, and a lot of guys get caught up in that, which sucks. But you know, I was just, I knew I was fast, and I knew if I could get out front, I could hold the pace, but I wasn't sure how my tires were going to last. And when Justin got to second there, I was a little worried that he had something left in the tank, but I think I still had just as much as him, so worked out.
Well, with this run tonight, with this win, you pretty much bring yourself back into championship contention and moving ahead in these last 2 weeks. How are you feeling about your chances?
I'm just taking it one race at a time. You know, trying to pick up top fives, and you know, normally the points will take care of themselves if you're if you're finishing on the podium or top fives, then you'd be there at the end. I'm not really trying to think about it too much. I'll probably just soak in the win.
Well, KR and I were kind of talking about something while we were racing here. What do they put in the water at Cole Harbor? Like, what is going on there that keeps producing? Just do you guys just do crazy sports just all the time?
Well, I'm flattered that you put me in the same category as Crosby and McKinnon, but I don't know. They definitely produce good hockey players, and okay race car drivers, I guess.
All right, Mike. Well, you may be new to the winner's circle, but I don't think you're new to our interviews. So before we let you go, who do you wish to thank here tonight?
Just thank everybody that watches every week for me, and Arner, Kinsman's Auto Salvage, CRF Chassis, Al for putting this all on. He does a great job. This is a stellar series to run. It's a great group of guys, and he does a tremendous job putting it on. You guys for the broadcast, you guys do a great job. I'll sit down and watch it tonight, and see what kind of airtime I got. And thanks. That's about it.
Well, winning the race, I can tell you, gets you a decent amount of airtime. So I'm hoping you'll have a lot to watch tonight. Congratulations once again, Mike Alexander.
Thanks a lot, man.
All right, well, that's Mike Alexander again, our first time winner at the Upstate Racing League, and our winner here tonight at the Carpenter's Attack Service 100. And KR, just a very good drive from that 75 machine.
It is a great drive by him, and always exciting to pick up your first win. And he even made sure to pop the engine so that tech guys can't go through and make sure he wasn't cheating.
And just kind of grenaded it right there in the last few moments, but a good run tonight. He was, like you mentioned, just able to maintain the tires and able to keep the pace throughout the night. And I mentioned earlier that I was worried about his pace early on when he was just pushing so hard to catch up, but he was able to nurse that right front and just keep the pace going throughout the whole night. And he had a lot of speed here tonight.
Yeah, it was a great race for the 75 machine. Great race for a lot of our drivers. Some of them not so good, especially some of our chase contenders. AJ Hamill going to have to pack up and try and hit next week a little bit better. Just 2 weeks left in this season. 3 races remain, as our final race of the season will be a doubleheader. And so, Kelly, we're all said and done here. Why don't you sign us out?
Yeah, on behalf of everyone here at the Turn 3 Racing Network, the Upstate Racing League, we'd like to wish you a very good night. Thank you so much for coming out and watching, and we will hope to see you again next week at Lanier for the Dan Dubuque Memorial.
The Upstate Racing League Season 10 on the Turn 3 Racing Network is brought to you by Eddie's Meat Market. Nobody beats Eddie's Meat. Hanson Starter Shop. Racing Designs. CEG Dealer School. Train, play, consult.